Alright everyone, this is our first kind of real tutorial, it's tutorial 2, where we learn about some of the cool features that are available in Google Docs. We're going to build a block style letter, and it's kind of a cheesy little example, but this is this sort of style that you would use if you're going to, say, create a cover letter for a scholarship or a resume or something of that sort. If you're seeking a job or making some sort of formal query, this is the kind of document that you'd create. And typically you'd export this to a PDF or something of that sort. So this is tutorial 2 in the text. I'm going to follow a slightly different flow than the texts suggest, but the end result will be exactly the same. We're going to look at the insertion point and how it works. We're going to look at paragraph and line spacing and spell checking. So I have my Google Drive open, and I'm going to create a new document, Google Docs, and I'm going to retitle it. I'm going to call it block letter. And then it'll save the document automatically, and I'm going to move this tutorial to another screen so I can refer to it. So the default spacing for Google Docs is not the same as Microsoft Word. Microsoft Word automatically has it set up with block style formatting by default. So we're actually going to change to that instead of Google Docs, which or instead of Word, instead of not having spaces between paragraphs, we're going to have them automatically added. And this is the only thing that's going to be different from the way the tutorial is presented in the text, is we're going to do this first. What we're going to do is go up to here. This is the line spacing tool. Click on it, and we're going to hit Add Space After Paragraph. This is going to automatically add an extra space after every paragraph. If you look now, it now says Remove, so we're going to leave that there. I'm going to follow along in the text to see what you're supposed to type. You should type it exactly as it appears in the text. I'm not going to have you watch me type everything, but let's see. But I am going to type these first couple of paragraphs. So at the beginning of the document, you want to have the your address followed by the date followed by the recipient's address. And 310 Pillsbury Drive is the address of the geology department at the University of Minnesota. So this is the first part of the tutorial. You'll notice it looks a little bit different than that in the text because I have everything kind of double spaced. But you'll see that it will display differently once I begin typing the actual text. And we're back. If you followed along on the typos exactly as it's written in the book, sometimes it's easy to miss them if you're a fast typist and aren't watching out. But one of them, the words that actually auto-corrected was this one. If you type the word believe and hit a space, it will automatically, I don't know, I can't remember how to spell it. It'll automatically fix that one if you typed it as it was in the text. The rest of them it didn't autocorrect, and this gives us an opportunity to play around with some of the different options for spell checking and grammar checking. If you have single errors that you find, the quickest way to fix them is just right-click on it, and you'll see the menu pop up, and you can hit the correct response. You can also just do a full grammar check by using the spelling and grammar tool up here. So you hit spelling and grammar check, and then it'll make suggestions and you can accept them or ignore them. So I will accept them here, there, and there. Remember, T-H-E-R-E is over there. T-H-E-I-R is that's their thing. And then T-H-E-Y apostrophe R-E is they are. So we'll use the correct version of there, and then that's it. Okay, welcome back. Okay, so the last paragraph, or the last paragraph of the actual body of the text, I want you to notice, first of all, the spacing. how these are all double-spaced and these are all single-spaced. This is what happens when you do adding space just after paragraphs. It doesn't add spaces in between lines, but it does add them between paragraphs, which is kind of nice. And we'll figure out how to scrunch this up and make it look a little bit better here in a little bit. Maybe you can already figure out how to do it. The one thing I'd point out is when you type in an email address, it'll automatically detect it as an email address and underline it in blue, creating a hyperlink. If you were going to print this off and mail it or hand deliver it to somebody, it's generally regarded good style to not have the hyperlink in there. So removing it is quite simple. You just click on it, and then you'll see this little menu pop up, and then there's a button on the bottom on the far right that says remove link, and that gets rid of it. I will type. Did it again. The last paragraph looks like this, or the last bit is the closing. Enter, enter, and then type your name. This gives you space to sign it. If you're going to print it off and sign it, you can sign it right there. Okay, so we're going to be doing this in reverse order that the text says to do it. We're not going to remove the space after paragraph, or we're not going to add spaces after paragraph. We're going to be removing them. So which ones do we want to remove? We want to remove this space to make this address look like an address, and then we want to move the spaces between these three lines here. So we'll start here on this first line. So you can select it, or just click inside of it, hit the line spacing tool, and remove space after paragraph. And do the same thing here. Select these two lines, not the third line, not the one with the, we want this line and this line to lose their space. So remove, and then you have that nice tightening it up, and then it becomes a little bit more readable, and you instantly recognize these as addresses. And this is a date. So finally, one thing you might notice if you zoom out a little bit is that all of the text is kind of scrunched up at the top. If you wanted to make room for like letterhead or some other formal, or just make the document look nicer, it's a good idea to take that text and push it down a little bit. Now you could just go up here and hit enter a few times, but we're not going to do it that way. We're going to do it the right way, despite the fact that the end result is exactly the same. We'll go into File, in the File menu, and then all the way down to Page Setup. That brings us this little dialog here that allows us to change the margins and a few of other features of our work. We're just going to change the top margin to 3 inches and then hit OK. And now you'll notice that all the text gets moved down a bit. It looks a little bit nicer, a little bit more formal, a little bit more striking as a document. And that is it. Submit this document to the portal as normal.